Hola! Welcome, everybody. Crypt Talk, the most crypt podcast in the world. I'm your host, Jake Darus. Welcome to episode 1. And in this episode, I fractured my right fibula last night. I can't believe I'm saying that. But I was trying to drive home from Thanksgiving. The drive was fine, whatever. We get through the snow. Roads are all right. Not terrible, but not great. We get to my house, and there's at least like 4 to 5 inches of snow in the driveway. I go to pull in. We don't have enough room to get there. My sister insists to back up a couple times. We end up making it worse because it gets back to the street. And then after a couple times, she's like, come on, help me push this. And I'm like, okay. So I go to the back to try to push the car. I'm not even doing it for 5 seconds. And I just hear a pop and a twist. And I haven't been able to walk on it since. I can't even put any weight on it. But I had to crawl upstairs to my duplex last night, sleep in my sack chair, and when I was trying to put ice on it, I had a really bad spasm in my foot because I have spastic cerebral palsy. So I had a spasm in my foot when I was trying to put ice on it, and I'm not kidding. The pain went up from let me put this on mute. Hold on. We got background noise. The pain went up from a 9 to a 13, 12. I was calling my mom, crying my eyes out. I'd never been in that much pain. We wake up today. I go to the ER. They take forever in the ER, by the way. How do they call that an emergency room? And yet there's people sitting out there for hours in pain, but that's another story for another time. I'm not going to criticize them too much because my sister works in an ER, but they just got to get their operations a little bit better. Anyway, we get my x-ray. We're waiting forever to see the results. And they're taking care of a bunch of these other patients. We're not even in a room, by the way. They put me in a hospital bed in the hallway. Anyway, so I'm just I got a feeling it's a torn Achilles. I got a feeling it's something with my ligaments because I can't put any weight on it. He comes back, fractured fibula. They didn't say how bad the fracture was, whether it was a stress fracture or not. I have a follow-up coming up this week. But it's funny because yesterday was Thanksgiving. And the day before Thanksgiving, I know I'm going back 2 days ago, but hear me out. The day before Thanksgiving, 13 years ago, was when I was like, you know what? I'm going to be a rapper. I want to rap about my life experiences because it helps me cope with things. And I always liked how rappers could rhyme words into patterns and stuff like that. So I go ahead to do that. I try to be a rapper, whatever. 13 years later, I'm making a video in my studio talking about the plans for my podcast, being an audio nerd, whatever. And I don't know how long I'm going to go without access to my PC equipment or anything like that. But it's funny because I wanted to call my show Crypt Talk because I have cerebral palsy. And, people like to say if you have a disability that, that you're crippled. And I like to put a twist on it and say that I'm crip. So Crypt Talk was going to be a podcast where I would share my experiences living with cerebral palsy, talk about my job and the things that I do there, how I want to help other people in terms of disabilities, be able to create better lives for themselves. We're also going to use a lot of assistive technology. I have a voice clone and stuff like that. But so for Crypt Talk, it was going to be about the experiences, having a disability and stuff like that. But I'm also a big sports guy, huge football fan. And this is probably the biggest weekend in football right now. You got Ohio State versus the Ops tomorrow. And then Sunday for the Browns, my team, Shedeur Sanders, is making his first true home start. And I got tickets for it, and I was going to bring the gang, but then this happened. So now I can't even go to the game. I got to figure out what to do with these tickets. Biggest weekend in football. And I finally also built my studio too. I got all the pieces for my studio, all the routing options. I got enough to do 4 microphones and 4 headphones to do a 4-person podcast on my porch. But then I also have a bunch of other equipment to do 2-man setups, solo setups, mobile setups. I just didn't expect myself to be in a position where I would need my mobile setup, but I can't even have access to my audio equipment because I'm not at my house at the moment. So, and I don't know when I'm going to be back there. Probably not till the end of next week. But you know, if I, how do I want to put this? If this happened to me, and you know, I've had a lot of other leg surgeries. I had a limb lengthening procedure when I was 7. They basically broke my legs, put pins and screws in my kneecaps and rods up my thighs so I could walk better. And the surgery was nothing but a success. You know, I've been able to walk just fine without it, or not without it, but I've been able to walk just fine ever since. But then last night, we got my fractured fibula on my right side, and I'm in a walking boot right now. I'll try to flip it around as best I can, but there's a boot right there. I'm moving it. Yeah, so I'm in a boot, which is helping to stabilize it. But being in an ER when it's not a life or death situation, which it wasn't in this case, it's a very humbling experience. You hear and see people that are going through their own health situations. Some are in a lot more pain than others. There were like 3 patients in critical condition at the same time I was in there. And obviously I say a prayer for all of them, and, you know, I hope they're able to come out okay. But it was a humbling experience for me because it's like, you know, health issues, it's not something that's unique to one person. And I used to always think my CP was, you know, my life was the worst thing because of it. But then when you get older and you start to realize that every human goes through their own form of suffering, you then just start to realize, hey, you know, we're all going to go through it. That one thing we all don't want to happen to us is going to happen to us. So instead, let's do whatever we can to enjoy it and celebrate and be around the people we love. And that's what I was able to do, and I'm still able to do it now. My aunt's having her 50th wedding anniversary. They're doing a party for her at a bowling alley up the street. So that's why I'm the only one in the house right now, and you know, I can do this episode and whatnot. But yeah, man, I mean, fitting a start to Crip Talk is when I become more Crip than I already am, you know? I like to say I walk like a drunk, and now I can't even walk like a drunk anymore. At least not until, you know, this heals up and whatever, but it's a very humbling experience. I didn't really do a lot of stretching and physical therapy, but I'd imagine now that this happened, I'm going to have to get a stretch routine, 100%. I can't just be sitting on my ass all day. I originally wanted to make this show because I had a lot of substance abuse issues in like my late teens, early 20s. And when I came home during the pandemic after I had went to a treatment center, the one thing that was getting me through it was like audio gear, people building their studios and stuff like that. And as someone who's been rapping for 13 years, you know, I always wanted to have my own studio. And we're going to get a studio tour eventually. I'll go through all my equipment and stuff like that. But what was I going to say? It's just fitting. Crip Talk, I become more Crip, and instead of having to cope with substance abuse issues, now I'm coping with, you know, a real leg injury, a broken bone. It took me 25 years to actually break one on purpose, which it's nothing short of a miracle if you know what I went through and whatnot. Bunch of surgeries, born premature, you know, all the typical shit that having a disability it brings you as far as challenges. But if anyone's found a way to overcome each and every one of them, it's me. And that's what I said on my Instagram story. I'm like, I fractured my fibula last night, but if there's anyone who can overcome a leg injury, it's me. And even though I'm in a lot of pain, and this sucks. When you when things like this happen to you and you feel like it's at a rock bottom and you have nowhere to go but up, and it's not to say this is like an end of the world situation or it felt as hopeless as when I was overcoming my addiction to prescriptions. I don't really feel the same hopelessness as I do right now because I've survived all that. I've survived all these surgeries, Botox procedures, had a bad case of pneumonia when I was 6 that left me in a hospital for like a month. I've been a survivor my whole life, and Crip Talk is just going to give me a platform to not only tell my story, because obviously that's important to me. I want to be able to tell my story, and whenever I have a family one day, I want them to be able to watch that and hopefully be proud of the man that I became and be proud of the dad that one day I hope to become. That's really what it's all about when it comes to storytelling. Sure, it's helpful for me, but if I ever have a son, I would love for him to know what his dad was like at a younger age instead of hiding things and whatnot. So, but yeah, this is Crip Talk episode 1. I really hope that, throughout this journey together, not only just in my recovery with this injury, but as we continue to grow the channel and just expand upon things, I really just hope that you find some inspiration for yourself just to be like, if he can get through all this, then I can get through whatever life throws at me. And that's what I'm trying to tell myself right now. But we got about 20 more seconds. I'm very happy. Very happy to be starting this project. It's just in an unfortunate time. But we'll be uploading the video pretty soon. And yeah, hope you all have a great rest of your Thanksgiving holiday. And Crip Talk, the most Crip podcast in the world. I'm your host, Jake Darus.